Hello everyone, I'm A.Avloniy and today's session is focused on a critical aspect of language teaching, working on students' errors. In this session, we'll explore why errors happen, how to correct them effectively, and how to strike the right balance between fluency and accuracy in the classroom. And now let's look through the importance of error correction and what is the purpose of correcting students' mistakes and what to focus while correcting students' mistakes. Language learning is a process of trying, making mistakes, and improving. That's why error correction is not just useful, but it is essential. Our goal is not to eliminate all errors, but to help students become more accurate, aware, and confident language users. Today, we'll look at different types of errors, their causes, and techniques to handle them constructively. Now, let's look through different types of errors in language learning. Now, let's break down the main types of errors students make. First, very common problem in student speech is grammar errors. They can be tense agreement, subject-verb agreement, and etc. We may have pronunciation errors as well. Students here mispronounce sounds. They can have problems in stress or intonation. What about vocabulary errors? Here, the students can use wrong word or they can get confused with similar ones. And students have spelling errors too. It is often due to unfamiliarity with English spelling rules. We have discourse errors as well. Here, problems with sentence structures or word order. And pragmatic errors as well. Here, we should pay attention to using language inappropriately in social or cultural contexts. Now, let's look through each of the type one by one in details. First, grammar errors. Such problems may occur in student speech very often. Here, for example, student says, "She go to the market." How to correct? Of course, here we need to correct it into "she goes to the market." Here, we can use rules, examples, and regular practice can be helpful in correcting students' grammar problems. Next, a very common problem is pronunciation errors. These may come from unfamiliar sounds or stress patterns. Here, it's better to use repetitions, gestures, and mouse diagrams to model the correct pronunciation. Next type is vocabulary and spelling errors. If a student says funny instead of fun or writes definitely instead of definitely, here we can teach word families, use mnemonics, and practice spelling patterns. For example, here student says, "I'm boring," but actually it must be "I'm bored." As we have mentioned, as well as vocabulary, students may have spelling errors too. Here we can see several causes, like students don't know how to spell the words even though they can pronounce these words correctly. Here, we will encourage students how to spell correctly, and we can use mnemonic devices. For example, if student writes definitely with E after F, we can change it into definitely, I after F. Most of the time, we as teachers forget about discourse errors. This is caused by incorrect word order or sentence structure. How to correct? Here we can provide sentence restructuring exercises and encourage students' speaking practice. Another type of error is pragmatic one. Here, students have this problem because of lack of understanding of cultural language nuances. It's better to keep in mind that we don't teach only language, but we teach language culture as well. Here, it's better to teach students cultural context and polite forms of communication as well. For example, not "give me the pen," but "could you please give me the pen?" And now, let's look through several techniques for correcting errors. Of course, here we can pay attention to the time of correction. So, when to correct? We have immediate correction as well as delayed correction. Immediate correction occurs at once after the student's mistakes, and it helps reinforce correct form of the spot. Delayed correction, best for fluency tasks like discussions or role plays. Here, teachers should note errors and discuss them after the activity to avoid interrupting flow. The key is to choose the right moment so correction feels helpful, not discouraging. And now let's look through some specific correction techniques, such as the echo method. Here, when student makes mistake in his or in her speech, we can stop the student and repeat the same sentence back to the student, but raising our tone to emphasize that very mistake. For example, student says, he go to school, but teacher says, he go to school, and here student can identify his own mistake and correct it himself. When it comes to correcting students' grammar and vocabulary errors, we can use reformation. This method is helpful to help students to correct their grammar and vocabulary mistakes. For example, if student says, she can singing, and we repeat after the student by correcting the sentence, she can sing. When we focus on fluency and accuracy, we should take into consideration how to correct it as well. It is important to balance connection and communication. In speaking tasks, we often face the fluency and accuracy dilemma. When it comes to fluency and accuracy, it is better to balance correction and communication. In speaking tasks, we often face the fluency and accuracy dilemma. In fluency-focused activities, such as role plays or discussions, let students speak freely. Avoid interrupting unless the error blocks communication. In accuracy-focused tasks, such as grammar practice, correct immediately. The goal is to balance both, helping students grow in confidence and correctness. To conclude, we can say that error correction is a natural and essential part of language learning. Here, we can use several methods like echo correction, reformulation or reformation, and symbol correction, which we use in correcting students' written work. And we should take into consideration when to correct as well. Should we correct it immediately, or should we wait it till the end of the activity to focus on students' mistakes late? Finally, the way we correct can either build or break a learner confidence. That is the end of the lesson. Thank you for your attention. I hope you find this lesson interesting and useful as well. We hope that you will be using these strategies in your lessons.